Damn, boy. That's what I'm talking about, Jake.
All right, so I just watched a movie that was suggested to me called Only God Forgives, starring Ryan Gosling and directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. I think that's his name. I probably butchered that, but yeah, I haven't seen this movie. It came out in 2013, and the first time I watched it was just last night. And I'm a little surprised it took me this long to actually sit down and watch it because it's from a director that I've liked in the past. I first heard of this director with a little movie called Bronson, starring Tom Hardy. That's when I first discovered like Tom Hardy and what a great actor he is. Blew me away when I first saw it. And then his next movie after that, that blew me away was Drive, starring Ryan Gosling, and it was a huge hit for Nicholas Winding Refn. He became a pretty sought after dude after that. And his next film after that was Only God Forgives, and it was going to be like his big breakout movie, and it flopped horribly. It didn't make a whole lot of money, and all the critics bashed it to holy hell, and his career's kind of floundered ever since. He's made a few shorts since then. He's made a movie that I haven't seen in 2016, and that's it. He really hasn't done much since, which is a huge disappointment because this guy is a hell of a talent. And he actually did a pretty amazing job on this movie called Only God Forgives. Took a lot of risks with this movie, and it didn't pay off for the critics that watched it and the audience that didn't go see it, which is a crying shame because I enjoyed the movie thoroughly, which is a shame because this movie's really good. It's not even like a decent film that has some good moments. No, it's a really good film from start to finish. The cinematography is on point. The color palette in the movie is incredible. If you want something to look good on your TV, I would watch this movie. The color palette alone is reason enough to watch the movie. And it was a storyline I wasn't really expecting. Because if you read the synopsis of this movie, it really doesn't tell you much about the movie. And when you get actually into the film, that synopsis actually doesn't make any sense. And the movie seems like it's about something else entirely. And it's funny, I've actually seen a bunch of different like synopsis for this movie, and one of them says that Ryan Gosling is a guy trying to escape the criminal underworld of Bangkok, and there's another one that says he's a drug smuggler that's thriving in Bangkok, and his mother is asking him to kill to avenge her dead son, and that's kind of what the movie's about. But at no point do you ever really know Ryan Gosling's backstory in the movie. You get little teases from his mother. His mother says, oh, he killed his father when he was younger or something like that. And he's always been envious of his bigger brother. That's as much of a backstory as you get on Ryan Gosling's character. And that's something I really loved about the movie. Nothing's forced down your throat, Nothing's overly explained to you. You kind of just got to figure it out, and hopefully you don't get lost while you're watching it. Nicholas Winding Refn really puts you into the world. And he makes the world as real as possible. He makes it really dirty and grungy and brutal. There's a lot of brutal scenes in the movie. And there's also like some funny moments. Like there's a moment where one of the characters, this police detective that you're also following through the movie, he starts singing on stage like at some karaoke. And it's pretty hysterical when you first see it. And it really does offset this tension because this police detective that you're following, at first you think he's a bad guy, right? At first you think he's the guy that we're going to go after. He's the main villain. But, at the end of the movie, what you realize is that this police detective is actually the only one doing anything good. And yes, he cuts off people's hands, but it's only to repay for any crime they committed, right? Hence the title, Only God Forgives, because this detective here, he doesn't, forgive without taking something from you, right? You committed a crime, you got to pay the price. You want forgiveness? Go ask God. And that's kind of the theme of the movie. Like Ryan Gosling's character, it seems like the whole movie, he's looking for some kind of forgiveness. It seems like he's holding some guilt over, his brother's death or his father's. And Ryan Gosling's character in this movie is also very quiet, just like in Drive. He only has a few lines, really. And it just looks like he's holding in his pain. Like his mother doesn't love him. All he knows is violence. And that's all he knows how to respond to people. And the movie does such a great job of telling the story without actually giving you that much dialogue. I think one of the first lines in the movie is Ryan Gosling's brother in the movie. He says, "Are you ready to meet the devil?" I think that's like one of the first lines in the movie. And then we get to the police detective that's following them in this movie, right? And the basic premise of the movie is that Ryan Gosling's older brother, who's also in this crime world, rapes and kills a 16-year-old girl. The police detective that's very strict finds him and then brings the father of the 16-year-old girl into the room to kill Billy, Ryan Gosling's older brother, who just killed this 16-year-old girl. And that's what happens. The father kills the older brother, and the police chief says, "Now you gotta pay," and he cuts off the father's hand. And the rest of the movie is the mother of these sons coming over to Bangkok and telling her son to go track down whoever killed his older brother, which really ends up being the police detective because he's the one that allowed it to happen, right? And at first, Ryan Gosling's character refuses to do it because he thinks his older brother got what was coming to him, essentially. He raped and killed a young girl, and the father killed him. He sees that as justice, and so does the police detective. It's the mother that wants revenge. And that's pretty much the whole movie. It's them hunting down this police detective, and this police detective turns the tables on them. He's a total badass, and he pretty much kills all of them. Spoiler alert. And it was just a super risky movie for this director to make. Obviously, it didn't pay out. His career didn't spike ahead. He didn't really gain anything after this movie, which is a shame because, I'm thinking back to that year, 2013, and other than Man of Steel, the movie was better than this, right? But yeah, I just think it's a super risky film. You made your main protagonist really this police detective, not Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling is just a character really caught in the middle of all this. And one of the last shots of the movie you get is Ryan Gosling holding out his hands, getting ready for the police detective to cut them off. Of course, you don't see the hands get cut off, so it's a little ambiguous there at the end. You don't know if the detective actually went through with it, or if he actually let Ryan Gosling go, or Ryan Gosling actually wanted it to happen, because there's a theme of this movie that Ryan Gosling keeps looking down at his hands that are balled up into fists, like there's some kind of rage in him he can't control. And he's always going to be in this cycle of violence until the root of the violence is cut out, right? Which are his hands. His hands are causing all these horrible things. He beats the shit out of people, he shoots people with guns and stuff. So maybe it really goes back to that whole theme of idle hands and stuff, And maybe the only way for Ryan Gosling to redeem himself, move on from this life of crime, is to get rid of the things that are causing all his pain, which are his own hands, really. And I think that's a really fucked up, deep theme that is really hard to grasp by general audiences, that's for sure. And in a story where you don't have a clear-cut protagonist, I could see people getting lost in the story and not really knowing who to root for. And that's a brilliant movie in my guesstimation, right? That's a brilliant move by a brilliant director to not really tell you straight up who to root for. It's up to you to determine who's right and who's wrong. I could see some people watch this movie, and at first they totally agree with the mother. They're yeah, you gotta get revenge for your dead son. But I could also see people saying that, why are they even doing this? The son got what was coming to him. Maybe just let all this go and move on. Which goes back to the title of the movie, Only God Forgives, meaning that the cycle of violence and revenge and everything, it's gonna keep going because humans don't forgive. The police detective, he cuts off people's hands. There always has to be some kind of justice for the police detective and also for the mother. The mother wants to kill the police detective for revenge for her son. So everyone's just in this cycle of revenge and violence, and no one's going to forgive each other because only God forgives. I think it's just really on the nose, maybe. Maybe it's too on the nose that went by people, but I can't tell you another movie that impressed me this much other than his other film, Drive, which is almost in the same vein. You have a silent protagonist for most of the film, only has a few lines. He's very violent at times, but you feel sympathetic for him. You're hoping he can get through it. You're hoping the protagonist can find some redemption, which, funny enough, in both movies, in Drive and in God Only Forgives, Ryan Gosling's character doesn't say more than 5 lines, and you never really know who he is. The movies never really let you in on the character that much. I think there's a lot of clever editing in Only God Forgives as well. There's a lot of like clever shots that make you think, is this a dream? Is this just shot out of sequence? You know, there's a few different areas in the movie like that could be kind of confusing on the first viewing. And it makes me interested to go back and watch it a second time and see if I pick up anything else. But just by the editing in some parts, you could tell there was a lot more thought put into this film than most other films. So yeah, I highly recommend Only God Forgives. Very good film. I'm surprised more people don't talk about it. I'm happy that a Star Wars fan gave me the request to watch this, because this is a film I forgot about. I forgot it came out, and no one ever really talks about it. And I gotta say, if you put it up against Drive, like, I think Only God Forgives kind of beats it in some ways. Obviously, I think the soundtrack in Drive might be better. I think that's like where it beats it right there. But even then, this Only God Forgives movie ends on a great song. Gives chills up and down your spine. Just a perfect ending to the movie. And I really enjoyed the ending of the movie. And highly recommend it. It's actually free on some streaming apps. You can look up and see where to watch Only God Forgives and enjoy it. It's a good one. Come back here, comment below, let me know what you think of the movie, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.
You want to fight?